and I have the same money guy today. My advice to anybody out there, find a source of money that you really click with that person that's in control of it.
Yes.
If they leave that bank and they go to another one, dump all of your mortgages and follow them.
Boom.
Go where they're going. They are your water in the middle of a desert, right? Yeah. And make sure that you click with this person and you guys look at properties the same and you look at risks the same. I mean, it's a big ask, right? To sort of like find your soulmate, so to speak.
Hello, you're listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Elliott. Super excited today. We have a special guest. It's kind of funny. About a week ago, I was having all these issues with figuring out security cameras. And this awesome guy ended up tuning in, took the time out of his day, over an hour, to dive in and give me step-by-step of exactly what I needed. But as we got to kind of kick it and talk a little bit, we're realizing how much experience and knowledge this guy really has with real estate. And overall, very bold opinion on, and I think I could say bold opinion, right?
I think it's pretty accurate.
Yeah. When it comes down to stop buying real estate right now with all this coronavirus thing going on. And there's a little twist to it. So I'm going to let him share and dive into, what we're talking about with that. But yeah, I mean, basically, Tom, you're from Massachusetts. That's where you live. You have a ton of real estate experience, but literally when it comes down to managing properties, the security cameras in general, I got to see all of your properties and check out the high footage. Anybody out there that doesn't know exactly who you are or what you do you mind just diving into some of your experience and what you've been through?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. I actually still consult. I still hold a position called principal at a company called Medtronic. It's a medical device company. But, I got into real estate, sort of like stuck my toe in, pulled it out, stuck my toe in, pulled it out, right, over like the last, call it 9 years or something like that. But really like shifted assets into real estate, in the hundreds of thousands of dollar range, right? In like mid 2014 timeframe. So I'm a mechanical engineer, I'm a husband, I'm a father. My properties are in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. I'm across 2 different states.
Okay.
Because where I live, you sort of have access like in either direction to both of them, right? 2 insanely different rental markets. The laws in Mass and New Hampshire are just, it's like the Wild West up there, and it's Massachusetts reinventing every way they want to hold us down here. So, but 6 years ago, really understood like asset preservation and really understood what it means to turn assets into cash flowing entities and making a living from it. And I haven't looked back from there. So
I love that. So back in 2007, cool. 2008 range, you started jumping into real estate, right? You got your first buying. Yeah. Well, it was what? A fixer-upper?
My house. Yeah, my house. The house you see right here around me right now.
Yeah, right? And now you're living.
I'm not kidding, right?
Yeah.
So in 2007, I had made a name for myself in like the corporate world. I had put together some funds and some savings, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go buy a house, half tipped over, whatever. This house was literally half tipped over. I had a half-built addition on the back. The guy went bankrupt from it. It had been sitting for probably 8 or 9 months. It was like 2 miles away from where I lived. I'd drive by this thing every day going to work, being like, there's opportunity there, right?
Yeah.
So, but it just wasn't my thing. Like I was like, I was like climbing that corporate ladder, and, I'd spent 5 years in engineering school, and I was like, stay focused, man. Stay focused. Like, what are you doing? Like you just left school a few years ago. Like just stay focused.
Sure.
So, one day I was like, I can't stay focused anymore. I'm just like shiny, right? And so I called the broker at the time, got into it, and I bought it. And my intention was I'll have this thing rebuilt in my spare time at night and on the weekends in like 7 or 8 months. I was going to do it myself, right? And I did. And the house came out, I think, really nice.
Yeah.
But the market just went.
So bad timing, which is okay.
It just disappeared.
Yeah.
Disappeared, right? Right out from my fingers. And so I was like, well, I need a place to live. I'll just live here. Yeah. And I've just lived here ever since.
I love that. So besides 2008, the crash, was anything else affected? I know you're still working full-time, corporate job at the time. Being an engineer, you were one of the first that actually got let off, right?
Yeah. So what happened is that I got picked up by this startup out of college. And then, I worked for them for like 3 years and, we IPO'd and it was like this big party and it was great, right? Yeah. And then, so just like in this business, you sort of make a name for yourself, you get out there. And so on the engineering side of things, you can switch gears and instead of like working full time for a company, you can go and be a consultant, like on your own, right? Companies pick you up, and they just want to date you for a few months and have you fix a problem and then see you, right?
Yeah.
Well, but when you're doing, normally you do that when you're like 40, right? You got like 25 years of experience behind you, 20 years of experience or whatever. I did it when I was 26.
Yeah.
And it was working. And you can make a lot of money doing it. But when the entire market crashes and all product development gets essentially put on hold.
You're the most expensive guy.
Yeah, you're the most expensive, young, diaper-wearing, guy in the background. Yeah. Trust me, you're going first. Yeah. Not the entrenched guys who have been there for 20 years, who are in their 40s, who have seen it all. I had like a very specialized role and they didn't need that role anymore. So it really shell-shocked the hell out of me, right? Because I saw on a podcast last week that you grew up in Jersey or something like that, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you grew up on Section 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, same here, right? So, you see all your friends and their fathers and their mothers and everything, everybody's with these corporate jobs, and it's all you know, right? So you go after that, right? Yeah. And then you get it, and then the world yanks it from you. Right? Yeah. It really takes a chip out of you, right? So, I've always been entrepreneurial. So long story short, I started this boat company and then I was consulting when I could. And then I started this, this painting company thing and then, consulting when I could, back and forth, whatever. Never missing a mortgage payment, that sort of thing. Just keeping the lights on, keep my head above water, retaining my savings, the whole thing, right? So market turned around though. Everything was fine. And everything went back to normal. And then I've got this big house and I'm living in it, all by myself type of thing. And a friend of mine, she had like this extra sort of like a mother-in-law, like a in-law suite off her house, right?
Sure.
And so she started renting that out to like make extra money and stuff. And I was like, well, shit, I got 3 extra bedrooms in my house. Like, yeah. I could put a ladder outside and just go up to my bedroom. I don't even need the kitchen. You know what I mean? I could like shut off this whole house and just rent it out. And so I did that. I got like 3 roommates and, it's a nice house. So the rents were high and my expenses were otherwise the same, whether they were here or not, really. I mean, a little bit of water, electricity here and there. Yeah. And that's when I first got the taste, right? And I saw how fast the rents were accumulating in these accounts that I wasn't even touching it, right? After 6 months, I'm like, I just made like what I make in like 4 months working every day. I made just keeping the lights on, like paying the mortgage, right?
You're just doing what I'm supposed to, right?
Yeah, right. It's great. It's absolutely great.
I love it.
So then I'm like, all right, I gotta start focused on this. And then I just started asking like a million questions. And back then there was like, there might have been bigger pockets. I didn't know about it, right? I didn't know anybody in real estate. Everybody in my family is all blue collar, right? We don't know anybody, right? Yeah. We know how to build stuff, right? So I started calling up banks and just anybody who would answer the phone, right? Yeah. Can I get a meeting with you? Can I just talk to you on the phone for half an hour? And it was all initially around how is the money structured, right? Yeah. Because you drive by like 1,000 houses a day. The houses are there. They can be rented. It was easy, right? You get it at the time, right? It's what you don't know. Sure. But you get a tenant, they pay you rent, you take care of the place, easy. But on the backside of things, how's the accounting taken care of? How's the money taken care of? How does these things get financed on this side, right?
Yeah.
And I just asked like a million questions to a million different people, and I nailed down the money end of it first. A lot of people have these dreams of like they find the property and then they go try to find the money. My advice, and I saw it pretty early, was that you find the money first, and then you look at what assets you have, how those can be leveraged, create a plan that essentially hedges and is realistic relative to those assets, and then you move forward. And then that narrows down your focus. Because a lot of people I talk to who are new, they're like, I analyzed 100 deals last week. Why? Like, could you afford all those? Like, were they all within your scope? Were they, do you have the assets to support those and things like that? So. Sure. Yeah, I mean, You gotta make sure to stop me, man. I always have a lot to talk about with these things. So
it's good. I mean,
I love real estate.
You had me, and then I actually am very firm and very opinionated on always look for the deal first, get a deal under contract, and then you have power. So then you can raise money. A lot of these new guys that I see that are like struggling, what stops them from getting started is the money aspect, and they get so scared. They reach out to all these hard money or private money lenders, but they have no experience. They don't even know how to talk the talk or find the deals. So a lot of them get like held up on because they keep on getting denied by the lenders.
Yeah, I think the problem for me is that I lack that financial creativity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Honestly, like I was lucky enough to not come to the table with empty pockets.
Yeah.
Right? I had situations that happened in my life that allowed me to, amass a certain amount of capital and things like that. And so I could just go the straight commercial route. I've never borrowed, I've never gone private money, I've never gone hard money, right? Yeah. Like I said, I get the JV stuff that we were talking about earlier, but that's only because of the distance away it is and things like that. I mean, it's a whole different story, but
yeah, I did want to cover, I don't want to leave this out, while the market was going crazy and you were starting this boat company and so forth, you started an app, right? For the boat company. Was it an app or just the business? And you sold it several years later?
It was just a business, but there was a website for it that I saw this niche need for like this mobile repair business. Right? So we live, I can like pretty much see the ocean from my house, right? Yeah. Almost, right? It's like right down the street. So we have a lot of boats around here, and I've always been completely obsessed with the ocean and boats. And that's that thing I told you about earlier about my company name and why I actually got into real estate. But anyways, so I saw a niche, right? You get these guys spending like $135 an hour and nobody's giving any good service. I owned a pretty significant boat at the time. And I was like, this is crazy. Like I'm relying on all these guys to like fix my boats and stuff like that. And it's costing me a fortune. And there's a different market for this. There's got to be. And so I started this mobile boat repair company called No Show Mobile Marine. And it's like everybody wanted it. Everybody. And it was like exactly what everybody needed in the industry. And we were amazing at customer service, and it just took off, and it was great.
So eventually you sold it a couple of years later, made a good profit afterwards, which really helped you jump into real estate even harder, I
actually sold it after I started in real estate for real, right? Okay. I always balance different income streams, right? So even to this day, I've still never given up the engineering income stream because I don't have to. Yeah. I just adjust for it, right? So these guys that get like, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units, and then they're like, I'm retired, right? Like, I'm just going to like leave everything that I've worked the last 15 or 20 years on. And it's like, man, that's a great income stream like that. Find a way to keep it simmering at least, right? Like continue to get something from it. This whole section of your brain has been like trained to be really good at this. Like why completely just toss it out,
let it go, right?
And let it go. It's like, it's good income stream. This is all these things are, and one is no better than another, right? So all my income streams, let's say over the last 7 years, have like completely overlapped. And then at some point when it makes sense, maybe turned it off.
Okay.
But it's still rare.
Yeah. So let's talk about why real estate for you. And I think this comes down to how you came up with your name, right? Which I haven't actually heard this yet, so I'm looking forward to it.
So this is like a world debut, unless you're like really close to the chest with me, because I've actually,
okay.
I don't know, it's just something kind of funny and special. It's going to be anticlimactic, but it's going to be anticlimactic. But so
the first, you're here to hear on the first for Ready.
You are, yeah, publicly the first, but it's silly. So like I told you, I was obsessed with boating. I mean, I had like a 36-foot cruiser and center consoles and dinghies and you name it. And like I'd buy, I had my big cruiser and then I'd buy like a center console in June, get sick of it, a horse trade it out for something bigger and better, do a couple value adds to it, right? Just like we do in real estate. And then to this day, I can say that I have never sold a boat that I purchased for less money than I purchased it for, regardless of how long I owned it. So that's kind of a weird thing.
I was just about to state, but like boats aren't an investment. But if you're still making money from it, there's a way.
It's no different. Everything in this world, value add, get rid of efficiencies, leverage down, and you'll make money.
Yeah,
that's it. Simple as that, right? So I'll cut right to it. So I had this insane obsession with boats, and it was expensive, right? I mean, on the order of anywhere from like $50,000 to $80,000 a year expense in my life. That was, unless when I traded and things like that, traded boats, broke even or made 10 grand or whatever. Other than that, it was very expensive hobby. So I said, I need something that funds this. I need something that like brings in income that I don't have to worry about writing these checks for my boats and I can just enjoy it, right? Because at some point you get like forced to like use your boat, right? Like it's raining out, it doesn't matter. I don't live in San Diego. We have like 4 months out of the year that like you get your boating in or you're just looking at it under the cover, right? Yeah. So, I was on the water 4 or 5 days a week easily. And so you'd feel bad spending all this money. It's raining out. Nobody wants to go out on the boat when it's raining out, right? But you're out there because you're like, I feel like I need to use this thing because I'm just bleeding money, right? Okay, so I said, I got this. I'm renting my house. Let's do this on a larger scale. So I started researching real estate. Let's forget all the background of that and just jump right in. I went big or go home right out of the gate. So I bought a 14-unit building that was 90 miles away from my house, and all the stats looked good, and its sole purpose was to fund my boat addiction.
Yeah.
And the corporate structure that I have for my company is MBF Enterprises, and it has a bunch of subsidiaries and things like that, but the original subsidy was my boat fund and real estate enterprises.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Whatever. Right. So and then the first building I bought, like the electric bill's coming, right, and it says like my boat fund and real estate enterprises on it, and our checks say that and stuff like that. So obviously I had to deviate it out and do MBF Enterprises. But to this day, the parent company for everything that I have is my boat fund and real estate enterprises. I wish I had something around here.
I love that. That is
so. There's got to be a bill around here somewhere. Yeah,
it's a good reminder. It's a good reminder seeing that every day.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So, anyways, I mean, the real 30-second story on that is when I was signing my first mortgage, my first commercial mortgage, my money guy calls me up and he goes, "Tom, what's your LLC name?" And I'm like, I don't have one. What do you mean? He's like, "You need to go create an LLC today."
Yeah.
And he goes, "But you're going to need a name." And so I got to drive. I had like an hour and 15 minutes driving up north. And I called like my brother and one of my best friends, this guy, Greg. I said, "Guys, I need a name. I need a name for this company. I don't care what it is. Right? I didn't know the impact. I don't care. Yeah. But I think I'm probably going to regret it if it's not at least minimally decent. Right.
Yeah.
So I called up my buddy Greg and he's like, "Dude, well, why are you doing this?" He's like, "You created a boat fund to, fund your hobbies and stuff like that. Just who cares? Call it my boat fund and real estate enterprises." So, and yeah, man, that's
what it came from. I love it.
It's just been that ever since. And I never got rid of it. The parent company is still my boat fund and real estate enterprise. Like all of our leases and checks and bills and everything else that come in for each individual building and stuff, they say MBF on them.
Do you still have that first property?
I still have that first property.
So let's talk about that first property, and then afterwards I'm going to talk about lead generation. But
yeah.
What does that first property look like? Is it still running smooth today? How many hiccups or craziness kind of came about from that deal?
Oh,
was it a good deal?
You need like a dozen podcasts for that.
Yeah, right.
But so I'll give you the straight metrics. I'm a metrics nerd, right? Everything is a spreadsheet for me, right? So 14 units, roughly about 12,000 square feet of rentable space. First floor was an old deli and a laundromat. Second, third, and fourth floor were 12 apartments. And the apartments rent at the time, it's not even close to this now, but it was like $600 a month. And it was the single worst building within like a 40-mile radius, right? Yeah. Filled with bed bugs and every crackhead you could possibly imagine. But I got this thing for $295,000, right?
Nice.
Just run into the ground. But I know how to build buildings. And, we can go over that some other time. But I know how to build buildings. And I looked at this building. I was like, this thing's 165 years old. The timber's like 14 by 14. Somebody had come in and revamped all the electrical, plumbing, and wall finishes like drywall systems due to a fire back in 1985. So in terms of like age, the systems were all modern and brand new.
Yeah.
But the apartments were all dated in how they looked. The hallways hadn't been renovated in like 80 years.
Yeah.
There was like very, very inefficient common equipment throughout the building. They had an open litigation for a slip and fall where a woman like broke something because they had like a washout in a driveway. And they just, these guys, it was 4 owners and they thought they were going to get rich and they just lost their shirt, right? Yeah. So I pick it up and I just get to work. One of the first things I did was I got a hold of somehow, and again, like I said, I made a joke earlier. I have no idea how I met my money guy, but I did. And I have the same money guy today. My advice to anybody out there, find a source of money that you really click with that person that's in control of it.
Yes.
If they leave that bank and they go to another one, dump all of your mortgages and follow them.
Boom.
Go where they're going. They are your water in the middle of a desert, right? Yeah. And make sure that you click with this person and you guys look at properties the same and you look at risks the same. I mean, it's a big ask, right? To sort of like find your soulmate, so to speak, right?
But might not happen overnight, guys.
But do me a favor. Like, do not shop around. Don't go ahead and shop that one extra point. Don't look for those 20 basis points and just some guy who gave you your first opportunity, you just leave him in the lurch and go running off to the next guy who's a $50 cheaper,
sure.
Right? Stick it out, and I'm telling you, it'll be the best thing you ever did. We mortgage out right now in the high 2s.
Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's because of the commercial side of things, everything is all about risk, yeah. Right? It has no conventional source of regulations surrounding it. There are no limitations on what we can borrow or at what rates we can go down to or up to or anything, for the most part, right?
So now you got the funds from your private money guy or your hard money?
No. It was a bank.
It was just a bank?
People's United Bank, just a standard bank. Yep.
People's United, nice. So you got the money. Is that what it was valued at the time, or did you get it discounted?
It was appraised out like in the 4s or something like that, whatever, something.
Currently, as distressed it was.
As distressed, yeah. Okay. Because of its income potential, yeah.
And then how long did it take you to revitalize?
So the deal is that Brad and I said, this place is not going to stand like this. You can't leave it, right? You can't just be like, oh, we'll just see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. So the plan is that he gave me a, I don't know, it was like $65,000 construction loan on top of that, right? Yeah. And the deal was that I was going to go in and I was going to get rid of the deli and get rid of the laundromat, and I was going to build a 2 and a 3 bedroom downstairs. And then I was going to use the cash flow from the building upstairs to renovate every one of those units on a rolling basis, right? Yeah. And this all looked really good on paper. So, I walk through the door and I go after permits. I go after, I come up with all my own drawings and designs and architectural sets and everything else like that. It's actually still around here somewhere. Right. Oh, here it is, right here. Hold on. Yeah. So I taught myself SketchUp, and Here it is right here, right? This is a whole set of architectural drawings that I did myself. because in New Hampshire, you don't need an architectural license, right? So yeah, that took about 3 months because I had to teach myself SketchUp and essentially absorb every international building code regulation that ever existed and then apply them to paper. So I did that, and I went to the building inspector, and I'll save you the story, but essentially it took about 9 months to get past that guy.
Okay.
He hated this building. He wanted nothing to do with it. He wanted the building like brought to the ground.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be like on the sign off for anything. It didn't matter who I hired, who I brought in. This guy was just like every little tiny thing you could imagine for him to come up with, he did. So I shifted my train of thought, right? You have to be sort of agile on all this stuff. And I didn't go into this deal like exhausting every bit of my capital, right? So everything I do in life is hedge, right? Sure. I got plan A, B, and C, and then A, B, and C on each top of one of those, right?
The same way, so, like that.
Exactly, right? You have to. You can't sleep at night otherwise, right? And then, then the next thing you know, you see a guy on a podcast and you never see him on a podcast ever again, right? So
the true stuff. We'll see.
Yeah. So, what happened to Larry? Oh, well, he bought that building. We told him not to, right?
Yeah.
All right, so this guy kept me in the lurch for like 9 months, and I was like, all right, we were gonna renovate the first floor first, and then I was gonna go upstairs. Mm-hmm. So then I shifted it around. The apartments upstairs, they're like 750 square feet apiece, all one beds. I love one beds. They're fantastic. It's all about square footage, right? So It's all about money per square foot.
Sure.
So I shifted resources, and every day, because I still went to like my engineering job every single day. So every single afternoon I would leave work and I would go up there. I'd work until like midnight, hour and a half drive home, get up the next morning, do it all over again. 16-hour days every Saturday, every Sunday. And I did that for about 5 months. Tenant would like flop out like a victim, or they'd leave on their own. And then I would completely rebuild the apartments, and they had good, strong bones and structure. So I wasn't having to do like electrical and plumbing and everything. I mean, fixtures and finish and things like that, and all new carpets and cabinets and flooring and walls and whatever, right?
Cosmetic.
Doors and all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah. So I did that myself. By the time I was done with this building, I had hired 82 local professionals in some capacity.
Yeah.
We called it the year of the 1099. It was just, so many 1099s. It was crazy. So I shifted resources that we finally got a new building inspector in town. I had to go before the board, get this guy voted out, get a new guy voted in. And then the new building inspector was amazing. And then I got to kick off my build downstairs, and the building, incredible now.
So it took probably a little over
18 months, 19 months.
Yeah. And
from
then
like date of signing to like when I was getting my CO for the first floor and all the additional fire systems and everything else. So
did you do a cash out refi at that point?
I did, because at that particular point, because I had to like shift resources and flip it around, I didn't have access to the construction loan.
Sure.
Right? Because it still was my first deal, right? No matter how much I convinced this guy that, I was going to like do this or die.
Yeah.
It still was my first deal, right? So they're not just going to be like, okay, well, here's the money and go use it for something else instead,
sure.
Right?
Yeah,
Come back when you need more and you've blown it all.
Yeah.
So at the end, credit cards maxed out, lines of credit maxed out. My personal bank account had like $5,000 left in it, right?
Yeah.
And that was just like, I'm probably lying. I probably had $5 or something. Who knows, right? And then, I did a cash out refi for like $417,000 or something like that. Meaning like that was the cash out. So the building, in 18 months, I took the 295 building and turned it into 1.32 million.
So it was 1.32 million.
I bought it for 295. It appraised at purchase for like 4.25, whatever it is. I don't know. And then 18 months later, when I was getting it refinanced, when I was refinancing it,
and it's stabilized.
Now that it's all brand new, 1.3 something.
I love that. And how much did you end up putting into it? Obviously, a lot of time, but how much money-wise?
The thing is, so I, whatever 20% of 295, it was like $50,000 or something like that to start.
Yeah.
And then what I would do is, every bit of profit from the building every month, that would be my operating budget for revamping the apartments upstairs.
Okay.
And then the downstairs stuff, it's actually kind of like this amazing fate of the universe that it all happened that way. Yeah. Because we needed a lot more money downstairs than I had originally scoped out for. Imagine that, right?
Yeah. Surprise.
Surprise, right? Oh my God, we didn't meet budget, no shit. And then, but I had 12 completely revamped apartments going at 30% additional rent now that would just flying cash flow in.
Yeah, I love that.
So that funded downstairs.
Yeah, I'm about 25, about 25,000 over budget right now on my current project. But
Nice.
yeah, it's pretty average.
Way of the world, man. It is what it is. But you hedged and you're okay, and the lights are on, right?
Yeah, life's good.
You didn't spend the farm, right? You know what I mean? And you're not eating ramen and dog food, so you must be doing something right.
Yeah. Life's still good. Life still goes on. So I do want to talk about lead generation, but why don't we just jump into it for 1 second in regards to the bold title of this, which is Stop Buying Real Estate. So stop buying real estate. And here's why, because there is a funny little twist to it. There's a lot of chaos going on with the news, the media, the market in general. A lot of lenders currently right now are actually freezing up and holding on. I know several people that were in the middle of a refi or a purchase and then just total halt because the lender's underwriting isn't moving forward. The stock market has gone up and down a million times.
I don't even.
Yeah, I don't look at that either, but usually it's stocks first, then real estate. So what is your opinion on, I guess, with the coronavirus and everything, why would it be, I know you're not buying anything right now, right?
No, but my eyes are always open. But no, I'm not exactly like, sneaking around in the middle of the night with flashlights and windows looking at deals right now.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So why stop buying real estate right now? And I know there's contingencies on this, right?
I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, man.
Yeah. I'm throwing you on the spot.
You could be an ambulance chaser right now and probably find a lot of people that are going to be becoming distressed, right?
Yeah.
And you could either take you could take two pathways. You could try to help that person keep their current asset, advise them, or give them, share, common resources together, or network with other people, connect those people to help this person stay in their asset. Or you could steal it out from underneath of them. And if they lose it, frankly, it is their own fault because they should have hedged, but they didn't, right? So what we're doing right now is, we have a whole portfolio of assets in 2 different states, and we could go ahead and say it's the unprecedented angle that in the first month or so that this is happening, people's resources are getting taxed.
Yeah.
Next month and the month after that, that's when if we're gonna feel something, that's when we're gonna feel it, right? Because most Americans have about a month worth of capital, maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Then they're struggling, right?
Not enough are really prepared for something, long.
And nobody usually is. Yeah. Nobody usually is. Unless they're gonna now they're gonna jump into their 401ks and they're gonna do this, and everybody's getting but their 401ks are now trashed because because of the stock market, and people are gonna be flipping them. So your average home buyer and things like that, I mean, they got equity, they got this, they got that, they got steady work. On the rental side of things, depending on what market you're in, I mean, downtown San Diego, renting a house probably a third of my size probably costs twice as much, right? So it's all relevant. But around here, your average renter has got, anywhere from like $50,000 to $80,000 in income per year, right?
Sure.
And so if that income stream just shuts off and they're in their 20s or early 30s, they got no capital built up, then you're going to start to you go buy a building tomorrow, the financials are going to look great. Your income streams are going to look great. You have no idea what these tenants do for a living. You have no idea what type of human beings they are, right? They could be somebody who cares about just themselves, or they care about the common good.
Yeah.
We, on the other hand, only rent to the second group of people, right? We're like, shit goes bad for you, that means it goes bad for me, and vice versa. Okay. Yeah. So, and if you understand that, then come on in, we'll rent you an apartment. But if you're all about yourself and if things go south and you just check a box and that's it, turn the lights off and walk out, that's not what we're about. So anyways, because for instance, if we have tenants that have problems any other time, right, any other normal time, we're right there for them. Yeah. Right there for them. Payment plans, miss a month. We have a program type of thing called Miss a Month, and we're there for them. So anyways, my point is that no matter how good of a tenant structure you have, when the money's gone, the money's gone. Sure. Right? And the deals that you're going to be looking at in the short term right now are going to have financials from last year.
Yep.
You can assume what
It's going to look okay. It's going to look good.
It's going to look okay, right? It's going to look okay. But unless every single person in that building is a nurse, all right, then who knows what's going to happen, right? Yeah. You're gonna. This guy's selling for a reason. And I saw on a podcast one time that you said, I always ask you, what are you going to do with the money? Same here.
Yeah.
Why are you selling?
Yeah.
Do I need to be worried while you're selling?
Yeah. Because it's important.
Like, where's that door where you've got a half a dozen dead people back here that I don't know about, right? And so I actually I'm not horrible to sell to, but I will ask you questions that you can be guaranteed.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you probably some uncomfortable ones. Yeah. But right now, everything is about risk, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to go buy something, unless you buy it from your buddy who you know is going to treat you right and be like, all right, listen, you're going to worry about 7 and 2 and 12. And the other 5 are going to be fine, right?
Yeah.
Where's that deal?
Yeah.
This
is what I wanted to clarify, though, because I know you're very bold on right now is not the time to be buying real estate, right? Let's wait it out, see what the next 6 months look like or what have you. On the second hand of that, on the other side, on the flip side of the coin here, we definitely don't want to discourage any new people that are willing to work.
Absolutely not. Right.
Willing to grind and get out there. If you come across a rock solid home run deal, pick it up. There's going to be opportunities. And if you can negotiate
100%.
If you can negotiate something even at a better discounted rate, then of course it's a no-brainer. We'll pick it up as well, right?
Yeah, you call me.
Yeah.
Brandon will put my email at the end of this. Yeah. My phone's right here. Yeah. We've got cash.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly.
So
but besides that, and I do agree with you, we're not staying up late night like we might have in the past, looking and searching around, really hunting for the deals, for the opportunity, because right now is one of those rare situations that we don't know what tomorrow necessarily is going to look like. We know what the last 30, days have been, 45 days, and it's new times right now. History is definitely in the making currently. So what the next couple months look like, or the side effects from the last 60 days, what that's going to look like in the future, who knows? And that's what we're we're looking at.
I mean, you'll know relatively quickly, and I mean relatively because, real estate's a long game, right? Especially on the buy and hold side.
Yeah.
But in the next 6 months, I mean, I'll be right back into the swing of it, right? Yeah. But anybody, and like I said to you earlier before we started the call or whatever, but if there's a 22-year-old out there with no wife, no mortgage, he's driving his hoopty from college, right? And he's got some extra cash in his bank account from some whatever source you're the market right now, pal, right? Yeah. You go by, you shouldn't stop for anything.
I love that.
That's anybody who has that or is in a position to be that, has such a high risk tolerance.
Yeah.
You should be on just pedal to the floor no matter what. And all financial, in all markets, right? But so a guy like me, I'm married, I'm 38 years old, and I've got a 15-month-old son downstairs. I got a baby girl on the way.
Yeah.
I have killed myself creating this portfolio, and I'll be goddamned if I'm going to let it go. No one is taking this from me.
That's right.
Come try.
Yeah.
And
so currently right now you're focusing more your time and energy on improving your rentals, improving the relationships with your tenants to make sure that they're above and beyond happy. So when something does, whatever market we're in right now, if it does get worse in the future, you're going to have those locations that people are going to be proud to pay to stay in those, right?
That's right. And what happens is that unfortunately, some people may need to transition.
Of course.
But those people you're going to have a lot of properties that even if the rent's being paid because they can't get serviced or they don't have the right vertical integration in their company status, you're going to have guys who have lost a ton of money in the stock market and they want to get that equity out of that asset and they're going to be pushing it to market. And, you're going to have guys coming in who are wanting to renovate those buildings and we're going to have access to a ton of great tenants, which is cool.
Yeah.
So my point is I'm sort of just sitting on the sideline.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting it out. And I'm not in this got to find a deal, got to find a deal, got to find a deal, right? Attitude all the time. So I'm saying I still got to do something. I got too much energy, right? So we're looking at like where can we add capital value, right? We're always looking for inefficiencies in buildings. We're always looking for value add, but sometimes you can only take it so far, and it's like, you know what, I got to leave that one on the table. I got another building over here I got to go after. Well, at this point now, because we don't have this constant flow in of new properties, then because when we buy properties, they're always like half tipped over and we're like completely doing, right?
Bunch of cracks and everything. You got to rebuild the whole thing.
Like, just people just like skittering around in the dark, right? Red eyes and stuff, right? It's horrible. So, it's crazy. So I'm looking back at the portfolio and saying, you know what, let's add this here. Let's remind these great tenants why they rent from us, right? Yeah. Let's remind these tenants to stay with us. Let's remind these tenants that we're there for them, but be straight with us.
Sure.
Keep that communication open. Something bad happens, tell us immediately so that we can plan for it.
Yep.
And we can keep everything running accordingly, right?
Yeah.
And we can hedge.
Yeah.
And so, we're doing a lot of landscaping stuff, and we're actually going into apartments. We're like, why don't we upgrade this or we'll upgrade that?
Yeah.
And, because we got to keep the capital moving into the properties, the best we can to constantly be providing competitive value adds to the market, right?
Of course.
We let our apartments stay stagnant. They age in accommodations. They age in quality. They age in wear and tear.
Capital expenditures.
Why wait for a tenant to leave?
Yeah, of course.
Give your great tenants right now a reason to know that they should keep you in their best interest as well.
That's so good. I love that. And you were talking earlier, I don't know if we were covering it as we were live here or before the call, but some of these new guys that have the ambition, aren't tied down, stuff like that, and have the resources possibly, or whatever their assets are. You were mentioning, even if they have to sell cans and stuff like that, just whatever utilizing, whatever it may be.
You could start with renting a doghouse. You don't have to go straight to 14 units, right?
That's so good.
I see all these people on the sidelines all the time, these super smart, hardworking, just like super driven person. I just want that thing, right? Yeah. And it's like, why aren't you jumping, right? Yeah. Why aren't you jumping? What's stopping you from jumping? And it's usually, and I hate to say this because people, like the really driven people out there are like, don't limit the size of your dreams. Seriously though, your dreams have to have a limit, right? There's only so much capital.
There's levels to it, right?
There's levels to it, right? Like let your dreams grow, but just be realistic about what they are right now.
Yeah, they gotta be,
actionable.
Yeah,
they're gonna be actionable, right? So my point is that you got $10,000 in your pocket. Figure out how to leverage that $10,000 into something that cash flows.
Yep.
Okay. You got to leverage down with a bank. Great. Buy a 4-family. You can put 3 or 5% down, right? You want to leverage $10,000 into some, multifamily that's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units. Okay. Yep. Find yourself a money guy. Find yourself a private lender. Find whatever you're going to find. Or say to yourself, you know what? Keep it small. I'm going to go and buy this doghouse over there. I'm going to paint it up. I'm going to put some new shutters on it. I'm going to rent it to that dog grooming place down the street, and I'm going to get my $100 a month, right?
So
whatever it takes.
So I was doing similar things. Once I saved up $10,000, it was a long time since that I found myself in debt. I got myself out of it, and I finally saved up $10,000. And at that point, I was like, okay, now that I have $10,000, I need to put it to work somewhere. I didn't know really what yet, so I just kept on studying.
And God forbid you make the wrong choice, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. You're terrified. Like it was like backbreaking to put $10,000 in the bank. Now, God forbid I lose it.
yeah. It's that fear. Like you don't want it to go because it possibly could. So I was just doing all the education I could, reading books, but I was also donating plasma at the time, and getting paid to do it as well. So I was doing that twice a week for over 2 years while I'm reading books at the same time, trying to kill two birds at once, saving up thousands of dollars from that. And then, we were collecting cans as well, just because I saw other people making money from it,
the worst thing that someone can say to me is like, I had a guy say, like this up and coming guy say to me at like some multifamily networking thing that I was at like in January, something like that. I just bought a property. He said it's a 6-family. It's in southern New Hampshire, but it's costing me a fortune to renovate it.
Yeah.
All right, man. They sell hammers at Home Depot.
Yeah.
YouTube is amazing. You can build skyscrapers off what you can learn from YouTube, right?
Yes.
Go buy yourself a goddamn hammer, pull out your dirty pants and shoes, and go do it your damn self. Like, what's wrong? He looked at me and he said, I went to business school for 6 years so that I would never have to swing a hammer. And I looked at him and I said, well, you know what, man? You picked the wrong place to park your goddamn money. Right? You picked the wrong place, pal. Like, you don't start out with this getting it handed to you. Man, if I could show you some shoes, there's a pair of shoes around here that I've got like framed in a box or whatever, man. I wore those things until we refinanced. Yeah. Right. And he just had this attitude like, no, that's below me. And I'm like, you want it or not?
So it's the sweat equity and then getting creative. So we got to the point where we saved up, even with collecting cans, we were just going to restaurants and picking them up. So I didn't need to dig in trash cans and just pick up whatever you got to do though. Right.
Yeah, it's more efficient that way, right? You go to one stop, you get 1,000 cans, you got to go to 1,000 houses to get,
So be creative, think for yourself. And then doing that, we were just Googling different ways that we could get extra money. So we took that 10,000, it took a little bit of time, but we turned it into 35,000, and then we realized we could use credit as well. So
that's cool. See, I left my credit untouched as like a backup plan. Yeah. Right. It was like I put it under a glass with a little hammer next to it and said break glass case of emergency. Right. Yeah. I smashed the hell out of that glass, but it was there when I needed it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's power behind it and just getting creative, which I really love. And the sweat equity, that's where it comes into. But kind of like you mentioned as well, all real estate or any type of business really, it's the value add. So it's finding whatever kind of stability it's at right now, ideally distressed, and then finding how you can improve it, make it better, and increase the value in it, which I love.
Yeah. A lot of viewers so an old timer gave me this example a long time ago. He goes, if your intention is to buy a property and not create any efficiencies and not create any value adds, then you're buying an asset that is performing wherever here. Yeah. But the guy you're buying it from doesn't think that that's good enough. Yeah. So much so that he's willing to sell it. Yeah. And you're thinking that you're just going to come in and keep running business as usual, and somehow you're smarter than that last guy. No, that's not how it works.
You should be a money partner if you want that type of stable.
You just want everything to just be smooth and just give me the keys and I'm going to go home now, right? Like, what's the point? The whole point, of buying an asset is seeing something that somebody else doesn't. Right? Sure. You can see the inefficiencies and, more importantly, how to improve on them. If you can decrease operating costs, if you can increase rents, blah 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 blah, right? Those are easier said than done. Yeah. But, if you find that there's like an extra space in the building over here, or, you and I talked about in our sort of unofficial thing last week about, my company, we give no questions asked free internet to everybody. Right. Yeah. And it's not like crappy Starbucks Wi-Fi. We have like full gigabit line, fiber optic line systems that come into these buildings. And if every single tenant's going to be spending $75 a month, and it's insanely rare that nobody does that, right? Everybody's spending 60, 75, 100 or more money, per month, or I can give it to you for free, right? Yeah. And if you don't mind paying an extra 50, 60 bucks more a month than your rent to save the 15, but realistically, you don't even really know you're doing that. It's just that this rent seems good and I get free internet, whatever, right? Oh. And we have one commercial class internet package that comes in for a fraction of the cost of 75 times X amount of units, sure. Then we're making money, right? Yeah. If we can replace your furnace, pay for your heat, negotiate a gas contract, your rent goes up by $100 a month, but your gas bill used to be $200. I get your gas bill down to $50. I pocket $150. Exactly. Right? You do that on a scale, and you got something there.
I love that so much. Tom, I feel like I really wanted to dive into so many other things. We are pushing it on time, so I don't know if we're
really? How long we been doing? Like, it's already been that long already.
Yeah, it's been an hour already. But if you don't mind, I'm totally okay with it to dive in quickly on detailed stuff. Like lead generation.
Stuff is big stuff.
Yeah, lead generation, and then analyzing deals, and then I wanted to also just ask about exit strategies.
Okay, I can handle two of those real fast. Okay. Lead generation, I'm not your guy. Okay. I can be way better at this. I mean, I could be way better at this.
Sure.
I'm more about like developing the property when it comes my way type of thing. But I know a lot of guys who are just like killing it on lead generation, right? And they're wholesalers for a reason, right? Because they can really find deals. You couldn't pay me. I mean, no offense to the wholesalers of the world.
Yes.
It's just, it's just not for me, right? So me, once I invested in asset long-term, I married it, right?
Yep.
I've never sold a property, and I don't know why I would, because I have amazing line of credit structures on my properties, leveraging the equity up to about 95%.
Nice.
And so if I ever need access to that, I could sell it and get the extra 5, of which, by the way, we give to realtors.
Yeah.
Or I leave 5 there, and with a second position line of credit with my guy, right? I can take that money out, go put it somewhere else, and let that thing cash flow out, pay it back, and then bring it back in, right? So I never sell properties. I'll never say I'll never do it, obviously, right? But I'd be very surprised if I don't die one day with most of the stuff I own right now.
Okay.
So, all right. So anyways, all right. So there was lead generation. Probably not your best guess for that.
Exit strategies.
Exit strategies. I just covered that one.
And
There's a million different exit strategies, but always have a plan B. Know where you're going so that you can structure your exit strategy surrounding that. And exit strategy doesn't necessarily mean you have to sell. It just means how you're going to get the money back out.
Yeah. I know with certain markets, like let's say like Detroit, right? You can get ridiculous amounts of cash flow, no appreciation whatsoever. So the cap rates are great, but how are you actually going to exit from a property like that? God forbid if you needed to in the future. It's going to be one of those things that you'll probably have to take somewhat of a loss in certain avenues. And I know the flip side of that, there's also syndications of big multifamily typically have an exit strategy because their income hits a peak of what,
Yeah, because, it's like a whole other podcast show just for that.
Yeah, I know. It's detailed.
About the depreciation of syndicated assets and exit strategies on that. That's about 5 hours.
Yeah, it gets a bit much. But anyway.
Right, so analyzing deals.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, my first deal was analyzed. Will this cover my boat obsession or not?
Yeah.
It was real easy. Real easy, right? And it did. And so I was in. But then after that, what I want to say for like new guys is that you're not going to get a second intuition for analyzing deals until it's like the 10,000 hours to masters type of thing, right?
Yeah, you got to go through.
One day you woke up and you were a baby and you started to walk, but you walked kind of funny, right? Yeah. Like my son will probably walk in here any second, right?
Yeah.
But you got better at walking, right? But you walked. And so this is the same thing with analyzing deals. Know the fundamentals, right? But more importantly, know what your goal is, right? Like, where's your threshold? Are you willing to do all this for $50 a month in cash flow? Or do you want like $5,000 in cash flow?
Yeah.
Because if this deal doesn't do that for you, you're going to be unhappy. And if this thing will become an anchor on you, right? All right. So analyzing deals it's very simple. Pull up like a whole sheet and just show you exactly how I analyze a deal out. But
whatever you want.
All right. Well, the thing is that for me, though, it's important. Like, I know how I analyze deals. I mean, that's easy. But it's the concept of, especially for new guys and stuff, what is your goal and what is your threshold? And it doesn't matter what the guy next to you has for threshold. It's what you have, right?
Yeah.
So for me right now, my fundamental threshold, when I'm just like seeing something on my phone or somebody emails something and I just do some quick math in my head and I take the major items and just pan them out, right, is that if you take the sales price of the purchase price of a deal, I'm looking for what I call cash in the bucket at the end of the day, meaning like after all debt service, after all my reserves, everything, of a minimum, and this has only changed just recently because of the giant 20% spike in the market out here in the last year and a half, is 8%. So an 8%, every dollar, 8% of the money is left over from the total gross in the bucket at the end of the year, no questions asked.
Okay.
All right. Now, I used to be back in 2015 around like 12%.
Sure.
But I've had to readjust down as the market comes up. So you take your total gross income, you minus all of your expenses, your debt service, any type of reasonable, CapEx reserves that you want to put in there, And whatever's left over at the end, that's, so if I'm purchasing for $1 million, they damn well better be $80,000 left over afterwards.
Sure.
Now that's just to get me in the door.
Yeah.
That's just to get me in the door. Because what I'll do is that I'll then, find my inefficiencies and get rid of them. I'll get my rents up by providing better services.
Yeah.
Right.
So you'll include all these.
Right. And just get everything all cleaned up. I'll turn that 8 into a 14.
Yeah. And you just mentioned a moment ago, like capital expenditures, just in case if anybody doesn't know exactly what the capital expenditures are, that's basically the high ticket items that you're not going to have to replace every year. But let's say a roof every 20 years, instead of 10 grand for a roof coming out of your pocket all at once, budget. If you got 10 years left on your current roof that you need to replace, then whatever the math is per month just to save for that. And hot water tank, windows, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, some rough numbers for like really new people who like don't know how to build, like the cost of building. You can take your 27.5-year depreciation on your purchase price.
Yeah.
And you can take a safe hold of a certain percentage of that. So let's say you've got, $1 million property, right? Let me see here. So, your base, let's say that we don't even take into account for land. I don't want to complicate things, right? Obviously. Yeah. So let's say that your base is $1 million after removing the land portion, right? So, you're going to divide that out by 27.5-year depreciation. These are all just very fairy tale numbers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This is if you want to just start, anybody who's experienced does not do it this way. But this is a good swing at the fence. You're going to get within 80-90%. All right.
Yeah, it's like a rule of thumb. Don't treat
the 2% rule, the 1% rule doesn't really work, but it's a good ruler for just judging while you're driving around, right? So you're going to depreciate about 36 grand a year on $1 million basis property, right?
Yeah.
So you want to say to yourself, I need to counteract that depreciation if it's real. If you're actually depreciating in value from wear and tear, things wearing out, roofs going, this going, siding going, and if that's really like $36,000 a year, which Uncle Sam says it is, then you should take a fraction of that. Well, you should try to match that.
Yeah.
In your capital reserve expenditures, ideally. But realistically, it's your first deal, so you won't be able to because you won't have any money. So you won't even have a CapEx account.
Yeah.
In the reality of it, right? I didn't have a CapEx account. It was just how much money came in last month that's left over. Well, that's my budget for the next apartment.
Sure.
Right? So that's it. But for me, so, there's a lot more complications in analyzing deals down inside there. There's the psychological effect, factors of it. Are you getting real numbers? What's your source of information? That's the important ones, honestly, right? If you can't trust those numbers that you're getting, what's the point of running the analysis anyways?
True.
So for me, though, that's my basis. That's my green light, red light. If that red light goes off and says that it comes in under 8%, I'm not even making a phone call. I don't care how inefficient it is. I'll never be able to make that property what I want it to be. And I found that over time.
So you wouldn't even call in to tell them?
Don't even want to know because it's so far off from where I need to get it to.
Sure.
For me to take all my time to manage it and to integrate it into our portfolio. And this is for me. This doesn't apply to anybody. This is rule of thumb. This is MBF Enterprises and how we do business behind closed doors.
Yeah.
If it's starting out less than 8%, I'm out.
Okay.
I don't even want to know anymore after that.
So me personally, how I do it just slightly different is I'll analyze all the type of deals that I think could potentially be good. And even if it is far off, I'll still submit offers on it and then they can laugh at it or whatever it is. But I figured I already did the 5-minute or the 10-minute quick numbers. So if I took the time into it, I might as well submit the offer. And
I hear that from guys judge me on that all the time. They're like, I submitted like 40 offers last month. And I'm like, I didn't submit anything.
Yeah.
Because what happens for me is when something goes over 8%, get out of my way, man. I don't care what you're offering. I know I can make it 12, 13, 14. I run by this place, do a quick assessment, and I'm just like, cha-ching, this is mine. In 6 weeks, we're going to own this.
Yes.
I don't care how many guys are at the front door. I have escalation clauses because I know I can make that successful and it's going to be worth our time.
Yeah.
So except for one property ever that I've put an offering on, we've closed on.
Okay.
Every single property except for one, and that's a different story. But it was because we were misfed information. Right? Okay. So the information that I made the decision on was incorrect. That's where it comes into trusting the information.
Of course.
And
trust but verify. Yeah.
Trust but verify. That's for damn sure. Right?
That's good.
And then even then, verify again, and then see if it's, just see if it makes sense.
Yeah. And keep asking. I like to keep asking the same questions over until like they get annoyed. But
But I already told you this before. I just want to hear you say it twice and 3 times and 4 times. Make sure you give me the same answer.
Yeah, exactly. Because you'll be surprised when, like, by the 3rd or 4th time, it comes out to something else. It's like, well, that's the first time you ever told me that.
Yeah, and well, the thing is that, like, I'm not creeping. Well, I kind of am creeping on your podcast, like, recently.
Creep on.
Yeah, creep away, right? So I heard you say, lost my train of thought. I heard you say that you just started getting into Section 8 rentals, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there's so many regulations around Section 8 rentals, and they're easy to follow once you know them. But like, people need to understand that if you break those rules, and you have the intent to do so, and you've done it knowingly, like maliciously, it's a federal felony, right? It's not like you go to court and you're like, I didn't know, right? Like, you do. Like, you signed all this crazy paperwork. They were like, sign it twice. And, they're called, for everybody listening, they're called HAP agreements, right? And, you got to be real careful. So the point, though, is that oftentimes Massachusetts is a huge subsidized state, right? Like, we have a lot of professional tenants. They're amazing people, but these people don't pay rent. And they get crazy subsidies, like on $1,800 apartments, they're paying $49 a month. Right?
Wow.
And so, with all utilities included and everything else. So my point is, though, is that when you go to buy a property and you're getting fed misinformation from somebody about that apartment, about their rent, about these side deals that they have with these tenants, super illegal, by the way, super illegal. 1 penny more, you can't rent storage, you can't charge for dog, you can't do anything. The premium parking spot, none of that applies to these people, right? It either meets HUD requirements or it doesn't. And so, long story short, we got fed a bunch of misinformation on a 6-family in a town called Fitchburg. And we closed so fast that we have this whole package that we go after each one of the housing authorities that apply to the building with, right? You ask all these questions. They're called estoppels. We get estoppels from the tenants, but we also get estoppels from the housing authorities as well.
Sure.
And we know most of the people that are like the players there, so they're real honest with us. So long story short, we closed so fast that I couldn't get the response from one of these housing authorities. And so I come in and, the tenant pays the rent. I think it's the right rent. And come to find out, she's paying for, like, I used these examples before, but it's real. Premium parking, a rental, a storage thing in the basement. She was reimbursing the landlord for the utility allowance that the housing authority was providing, right? Insane. And so, like, the reason why we figured this out is because she sends us a check for, like, what she received from the housing authority, right? Well, no. So the normal rent came to us, right?
Yeah.
All of our rent goes into a bank account. We never see the rent, right? All the tenants deposit it. They don't send us checks. But this tenant sent us a check. It was like $89. And I call her up. I'm like, what's this for? She goes, oh, no, that's your portion of the utility subsidy. I go, I'm sorry, this is what? No, and it took me like a half an hour. Like, my brain just wasn't going in that direction, right? For me to, like, click and go, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa, Jesus. Like, somebody put this in a box somewhere, so get my fingerprints off of it, right? Like, and so I immediately left 1,700 emails and made 5 phone calls to everybody I could over at this housing agency. I was like, this is what's happening. I had nothing to do with it. So anyways, this all lends back to just trust the information that you get from people.
Sure.
You've got to be real careful, especially on deals that come with Section 8. Make sure you take the time. Don't let people rush you. Get responses from the Section 8 Housing Authority, because as soon as you own that contract, and if they could ever insinuate that you participated in it, even mistakenly, it's a federal crime.
Yeah, that's so true. That's good too. I personally like to chat with all the tenants as well, because that's where you'll really find some good detailed information. Some of it's, you can overlook, but you can get a lot of, just with the fourplex that we have right now, just a few days before closing, we found out a ton more information, and we almost it gave us more negotiating power. So I took advantage of it, but deep down I wasn't going to not close on the deal, but I made it seem like I was about to bow out because, you know, they were saying one thing originally, and then once I talked to the horse's mouth, you know, I find out all the detailed information.
Oh, here's the truth. Imagine that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I used to go to the buildings and, interview the tenants myself the best I could. But a lot of, and it's those situations where the landlord goes, the current owner goes like, we haven't told the tenants we're selling the building. So if you could go ahead and
it was the same way.
To that. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that sounds great. Like, and we're running over there now, right? Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? Like, who cares if they sell the building? Like, nobody, in the end, nobody cares.
Exactly, yeah.
Nobody cares. Yeah. In fact, they've now got a new guy who's going to come in, and in order to keep their business, they get to go ahead and throw around all kinds of demands. I need this fixed. I need that fixed.
Exactly.
This guy's been telling me for a year, right? You want to be my friend? You want me to pay the rent? Like, all this stuff. Yeah. So I've got a guy now, and his name is Julio, and he's from Puerto Rico. He speaks Spanish, which is fantastic.
Yep.
And he goes around and he knocks on the door on my company's behalf, and he's got this like super sweet face to him, right? Like, he's just super friendly. And he just knows all the right questions to ask, and I pay him $100 a door to do it.
Boom. I mean, that's perfect.
He has saved my ass more times than I can imagine.
Yeah, that's so good.
We do that before the offer, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be like me. Yeah. Don't be like me. All right. Well, Tom, I appreciate you so much. There's nothing but, ton of gold nuggets on this episode.
Oh, thank you.
You gave a ton of value and a lot of your time, double now. The first time it was just recorded one-on-one with me.
I love this stuff, man. I can't get enough of it, so don't worry about me.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother. What can the listeners or myself do to give back to you?
Right now, I'm honestly, like I said, I'm slowing down for a lot of reasons, but I'm a sucker for a good deal. So if, somebody needs help somewhere, if somebody wants to transition from this business to that business, anything off market that, has real value, I'm not a big fan of junk. But yeah, give me a call, email me. I'm not looking to brag or anything. If you've heard anything from me in this episode, it's that I hedge, which means that I have a lot of capital reserve accounts, and we're always in a cash-heavy spot. We have all of our lines of credit, so we can usually move on pretty sizable deals very, very fast.
Yeah.
And anybody who's looking to sell, you got to sell in order to buy. So, yeah, give me a call, hit me up on my email, hit me up, through Facebook.
Cool. How can people get a hold of you?
So you can hit me up through I only have personal Facebook, so that's just, Thomas Gagnon, and I'm north of Boston in Massachusetts in Beverly. You can also email us directly at the office at mbfenterprises.info@gmail.com. So that's mbfenterprises with an S on the end, .info@gmail.com. I'll shorten that email one day. It's too long. And then, I'm not going to post my phone number on a podcast, but, if you email me, I'm always happy and actually prefer to talk over the phone, talk in person on something. So feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to share my more personal contact information and go from there.
I love that. Tom, you do seriously have like a huge heart of gold that constantly always in the avenue of giving, which I highly love. And that's the type of people I love connecting with. So yeah, I'm super excited and glad that we were able to knock out this podcast episode and give back to the listeners tremendous amount of gold. We definitely got to get you back on as well, because we need to deep dive into all these other
I feel like we kind of gave like the title page here, man. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff we dove deep on a little bit, not even deep, but we sort of just skimmed the surface. But yeah, it's we definitely know what the chapters are called now.
That's right. We got to create a book out of this afterwards. Well, Tom, I appreciate you so much. Any of the listeners, make sure that you guys reach out to this man, as well as hit that subscribe button to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, so you get the newest notification every single Monday. And leave a review. Let me know what you guys think about it. You can always find me at BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Otherwise, Brandon Elliott Investments for Instagram, or Facebook.com/Brandon Elliott REI. Also, Facebook.com/Brandon Elliott Investor. So you guys are more than welcome to reach out if you guys have any questions whatsoever. Would love to hear from you guys. And if you guys hit that subscribe button and leave a review, just send a screenshot of that over to me anywhere on social media, and I'll send you my book, Action Driven, absolutely free. Give it to you guys on the house. So appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you very soon next week. Tom, you're the man. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much, Brandon, man. I can't appreciate it enough.
Yeah, God bless.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.